Why is thinking so hard? I don't know if you agree with this statement, first of all, that thinking is hard, deep thinking. But even if you don't, in the assignment for this week, I'd like you to think about why it might feel hard to some people if it doesn't feel hard to you. And in this info module, I'm going to offer my opinions about why thinking is so hard based on my experiences as a mother, as a person, and as a teacher. Your experiences may differ. P.M. Forney in the book The Thinking Life says that thinking requires humility, and I actually strongly disagree with that. I believe that thinking requires confidence. In other words, you have to be unafraid to ask questions. Questions are the best way to think. And I think that there are reasons people are afraid to ask questions. We're afraid of looking ignorant or stupid. And I'd like to discuss some of the reasons we fear that so much, because I really do believe that revealing your ignorance is the best way to think. Asking questions, no matter how stupid they may seem, is so important to pursuing knowledge and thought of all kinds. When my son was little, we were driving in the car, and he said to me, "Mom, can germs see God?" And I had no earthly idea why he was asking me that question. I mean, first of all, do I know the answer to that question? And a lot of parents, I think, or adults, not necessarily parents, when children ask them questions like that, questions that they don't know the answers for, they'll often say, "That's a stupid question," and discourage children from asking questions. I have to tell you, all these thoughts were running through my head, like maybe he doesn't want to wash his hands to get the germs off. Why is he asking me that question? And he's in the meantime saying, "Mom, Mom, Mom, do germs see God?" I don't remember what I answered at the time, but I do remember that it took me and another professor 3 days to figure out why he had asked that question. It was actually a really brilliant question. And it turns out it was because we had told him that God was invisible, and we had told him that germs were invisible, and he wanted to know if they could see each other. So it was a wonderful question. Another story I have to tell you is that, my parents, when I was growing up, luckily were not very afraid of questions. And they also kept telling me over and over again how smart I was. So I had a lot of confidence about my ability to understand things. When you have that confidence, you don't feel like your questions are stupid. You feel like your questions are legitimate. And I just wanted to tell you this experience I had. I went to a diversity training workshop that was held by the university. And the way they had organized this workshop is it was all professors, and they'd given half the professors that were attending one article to read, and half the professors another article to read. And then they were going to bring us all together and just start discussing one of the articles, so that the people who had read the other article would feel excluded, and then would understand what it's like to feel excluded if you're from a group that often experiences feelings of exclusion. So we go into the room, and the article that they started to discuss was not the article that I had read. So they asked the first question about the article. "So what did you think of blah, blah, blah?" And I immediately raised my hand and said, "Excuse me, I don't remember that in the article at all. Could you tell me what page number that's on?" And I wrecked their whole plan, right? But I was not afraid of feeling stupid, and I'm not going to credit that with strength of character at all. It's just because I was conditioned to think, "Oh, okay, you're smart, so go ahead, ask. If you don't know, somebody else doesn't know." There is a study, and I cannot find it because I would like to prove it's not just a cultural myth. But I once read of a study that showed that children would take a test, and then if they were given a test that was similar in difficulty, but asked to pretend at the beginning of the test that they were the smartest person in the class, they actually did better, right? So just pretend you're the smartest person in the world and ask those questions. One thing I find that students really worry about in thinking deeply is that we are going to discredit their fundamental beliefs, like, for instance, the belief in God. I have to say that good, hard thinking does not discredit any belief. It just drives you to find a stronger basis for your beliefs. For every belief, such as atheists' belief that God doesn't exist, there is an equally strong argument for the existence of God. The Experience of God by David Bentley Hart is an example, but you may have other experiences. And in fact, one of the smartest philosophers in the world, Immanuel Kant, argued both, that God definitely exists and that God definitely does not exist, and proved them both beyond a shadow of a doubt. And he did that to show the limits of reason, right? You can't always reason about all of those things, but both his arguments were extraordinarily good. I tend to read both the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. The New York Times is more politically in tune with my own beliefs, and the Wall Street Journal is not. But they are both filled with articles by brilliant people. You know, when we talk about thinking deeply about ideas, sometimes students feel that I'm asking them to give up family, right? Because so many of your ideas come from your family. I know my political ideas come from my upbringing and bringing in my family. And they feel like friends. Your ideas feel like friends. In thinking, nobody's asking you to abandon your family and friends. Just pretend for a minute, just as if I believed this way, what would be my argument? If I believed the other way, what would be my argument? Once a therapist said to me, nothing that you think can hurt you. And it's true. Nothing you think can hurt you. Just let yourself explore all the possibilities. Let yourself feel wonder at all the questions. And most important, never worry about appearing ignorant. I remember my sister-in-law, she was just stunned because she went to Berkeley, and the student who was voted the smartest student in her science classes, she said she would come to the lab and she was just clueless. She would ask all these questions. Well, I'll tell you what, asking questions is not being clueless. It is the smartest thing you can do. And the smartest thing you can do is reveal your ignorance and don't believe that it says something about you essentially, that you're essentially stupid. Just ask. So that's my plea for thinking and my analysis of why thinking is hard. And I hope that in your assignment this week, you can also think about why thinking is hard. I did want to mention that Daniel Kahneman discusses that slow thinking takes much more effort, much more cognitive effort than fast thinking. And that cognitive effort is exhausting. And he recommends, having a glass of juice when you're trying to think. So at any rate, those are some of my thoughts about why thinking is hard.